So it's the morning after the night before, well, after the conference, should I be more specific. So yesterday and the day before, I attended SearchLove 2019 here in San Diego. And I just want to produce this quick video to show you how it all went. Before I get into the video, I just want to show you this quick private beach. You'll see why that is important later on. It goes all the way down, as you can see. And that was where the venue is located, just as you can see in the far corner. Yeah, so here is my slides to what I thought the conference was like. So yeah, like I just said, this is my review of SearchLove 2019 here in San Diego, and let's get started. So, day one. Up first was Brittany to talk about machine learning. She gave a basic understanding of what machine learning is, some great tips on how to create your own machine learning around using folders. So you just fill a load of folders full of animals and then it can work out what animal it is. But then she went on to say, once you've learnt this skill, because that's quite a basic thing to do, it's probably an intro, a 101 into it, that you can create stuff to help you with SEO. You can get them to write meta descriptions, which is pretty cool. You can teach machines to work out what images are all about and then get them to write alt tags. So if you're doing this on mass scale. So yeah, Brittany's was first up, quite a good talk. She was shortly followed by Heather, talking about agency work. When you get a new client, there's obviously always the honeymoon period, but that can quickly go away, especially if you don't deliver straight away, or the client's expectations might be that, oh, we sign the contract, 3 weeks later they pick up the phone, why haven't our rankings improved? So she talks about effective communication, and that's going to be from day one, or even pre-day one. So when you're in negotiations with them, make it clear, set out the stall, explain what's going to happen, and just constantly make talks with them. Some great examples she was able to give as well. And then we'll give a bit of an update. If I'm honest, it was a bit of a sales pitch, part update, part sales pitch, but it kind of made sense why he did it. He says historically people have come up to him in previous conferences on day 2 at the after party and said, oh, who do you work for? And then when it's a bit awkward being at your own conference. So he just give an explanation of what Distill do. It was quite useful. And then up next, all about local. I've seen her present several times at different conferences. It always amazes me. I've never really done local SEO. Or not on this grand scheme that she does. But yeah, some of the insights and tips she was dropping. For example, like if there's too little data in Google Search Console, so let's say you live in X town, it's a really small town, and you're searching, I'll use her example, so it were vets in X town, and there's only one search a day for it, and they click through. Because that data is identifiable in Google Search Console, because you can link them two together because there's only one person, they actually remove the data from Google Search Console. That's why Google Search Console data sometimes looks lower than GA data, for example. Make sure you're using brand schema. Google Posts now showing in the 3-pack, so make sure you're writing Google Posts, which goes on to the next point. It's crucial important you're writing guest posts. Local link building is still super important. And then she went on to explain about 3 different tools that she uses for it all. So for mainly tracking, I won't cover these tools here. But yeah, she said 3's overkill, but that's all she specialises in is local. She says 1 or 2 would be good. Great talk, really enjoyed it. And then James was up next. Yeah, James was the first community speaker. So Distilled, this is the second time they've allowed him. They allowed him at London. People to pitch in. And with San Diego conference, you had to be from the San Diego area, but James was the first up on stage. And my God, you would not known he was a community speaker. He was polished, perfection, amazing talk. And he went on to say that, and I sat next to him actually the night before the speakers dinner, so I got to know James quite a bit well. We had a good chat. He said the problem isn't reporting itself, it's how we communicate the data. We're talking about you've got to use the right visual. Once you pick the right visual to explain what you're trying to explain, it's got to be in the right layout. And then you've got to have the right language to describe the visual. And then you've got to finish all that off with an action point. So what? So this is what we're going to do, for example. And one thing he made very clear is he doesn't like pie charts. He can't see the point of pie charts. And he also doesn't like donut reporting rings either. But yeah, great talk. That was followed by Rafa, another community speaker. Again, great talk. The two community speakers, these two back to back, absolutely brilliant. And he was talking about why, when, and how you should update your content. So he talked about how to find content which needs updating, and he wasn't saying just update the date on the article to say to Google this has been updated. He was talking about actually doing some proper research into what's updated. Sometimes it might be that the content doesn't need updating, but he gave examples, reports on where to look, year-on-year comparisons example, but he made clear that even if the content is still doing okay now, is okay good enough? Like, is okay great? Can he be doing more? He said just make sure you look at the SERPs as well, because what was the SERPs for a year ago, and this is kind of why I don't like ranking tracking tools, because it makes you lazy, because you just look at a number. I've gone up 3 places, look at the SERPs. Has Google's intent for that SERP change? Because while you might have been slowly dropping down the rankings, it could be that Google is now putting a different type of content to the top. So yeah, always be looking at the SERPs. And then we had lunch, and on day one there was round tables, and I love round tables. Getting 8 to 10 people round table over one topic and discussing it for an hour, brilliant. So yeah, after lunch, Krista was up. She used to work for Google until very recently. Now she works for Quantcast. Her talk wasn't recorded and the slides aren't available because it had not sensitive information there, but information that Google doesn't want to get out. And so I'm going to stick with that and not reveal any of my notes from the talk. But it was a really interesting talk. Then Robin come up, and I will be honest, I've seen people before talk about don't use Excel, use all these wonderful tools, blah blah blah. Oh, Excel's like basic, you should be using it. So I wasn't really looking forward to his talk, if I'm honest, and I took 0 notes. But oh my god, the tool he was talking about, it's called Jupyter. I think I spelled it wrong there, but I could be. But it's incredible. Yeah, so this is obviously the day after SearchLove. I'm here for another 3 days. What I'm doing this afternoon is just going to be playing with Jupyter. Like, it looked absolutely incredible. Yeah, Excel used to be my best friend, but Jupyter could soon become that. Then Lindsay followed him, and she runs a social agency, and she was talking about Facebook and how to improve on Facebook. And she was another person that was on my table at the speakers' dinner. So we had quite a good discussion on the Sunday night about Facebook. But it was quite simple. Key points was know your audience. Like, if you obviously do a lot of research for Google about knowing your audience, use that information on Facebook. Find out Facebook's user intent is simple. They want people to engage and be happy on Facebook. So give them content they want to be happy and engage with. And then she made a very good point. Why do people actually log into Facebook? People don't log into Facebook to see your advert about whatever you're selling. They are not going there to see that. While it can deliver new customers, etc., they are not. No one picks up the phone and goes, let's go onto Facebook. Let's see what adverts I can see today. No, they're going to join groups. They're going to go on to catch up with old friends. They're going to go post about their holiday. So you need to produce content that gets them engaged, that's not salesy, because they're not in a sales mode. That's not what they're going to Facebook for. You don't go to Facebook and go, I'll look at these adverts. So yeah, and she had a good tip is to do Facebook only specials. So I advertise it at thanks for following us, here's a Facebook special deal, etc. They tend to do quite well. Great talk by Lindsay. And then finally, day one, Rand Fishkin was up. Everyone knows Rand from obviously being the founder of Moz, and now. And he was talking about how you can get everything you ever wanted just from an email. So it wasn't an SEO talk as such, from what I've seen before of him, or it wasn't about any of his normal whiteboard Friday kind of talks. This was very specifically about how email is still an effective way of doing outreach. It's still an incredible way of doing outreach, but people have got lazy and tried to scale it. It needs to actually come back down and be more targeted. You've got to put the effort in. You've got to go one-to-one. So don't be lazy and send the same email to 100 people, send that one email to one person and actually make a connection. And don't tell them on the first connection, on the first email. Try and build a bit of rapport with them. And he said you've got to be creative. Another tip he gave actually that's not on here is try and use your connection. So if you wanted to link off, let's say you want to link off his new website, and you've got a mutual friend that's connected with Rand and you're friends with him, but you're not a direct connection to Rand, go via that third party and use that as a way in. You're more likely to get a yes or at least a response than if you just emailed him directly. And then this is the best bit of what SearchLove does. So at the end of day one, they get all the speakers on stage, and it's called Let's Get Real. And each speaker goes down the line, and they have to give one tip. This bit isn't recorded, and this bit isn't shared. So this bit is, they all give one tip that they might not want to admit publicly that they do, or admit publicly that they know works, etc. It's the best bit of the day. You find some great little hacks and tips, and I'm not going to share anyone with you. You have to turn up to Distiller conferences to hear these great and wonderful tips. It's just not fair if I started sharing it, because they do specifically ask for them not to be tweeted out, etc. during the conference. And then on to networking. This is 50% of the reason why I came here. And I said look at the video and the thing about the beach. Basically the whole beach was hired, private beach, a few beers, a bit of nice food, networking on a beach. I've been to some conferences all over the world. Have I ever done networking on a private beach before? No. Is it incredible? Yes. Like, just nice. The great thing about this conference as well is it's quite small. There's only about 250 people here, so you get to bump into the same people, so you get to build a bit more of a rapport compared to, say, a bigger conference where there's 1,000 plus people where you might only see them once and it's just a quick passing hello, how are you type thing. You see the same people over and over again, and you get to have a nice little conversation and build actual meaningful connections. Going back to what Rand said, you made a connection that you might be able to use in the future. But yeah, it was a great night. Bar was open pretty late. Free beer, sponsored by Moz. Yeah, just sat around a fire, enjoying a few drinks. It was brilliant. And like I said, it's 50% of why I go to conferences is the networking, meeting new connections, talking to the people. Day 2. Up first was Ross, and if everyone's seen Ross speak, he's great to have on at the beginning of day 2. You've had a few beers the night before, you might be feeling a bit hungover, a bit delicate. He comes onto the stage full of energy. There you go, boom, straight back into it. And all it was to talk about was research, rethink, remix. So research great content, research great ideas. Go to where your potential customers are, using forums like Quora or Reddit or Facebook groups, and produce content they want. Rethink, so just look at the content that's already there, that's already live on the site, and content that competitors have done. Can you make it better? What's in the SERPs? You might see a great paragraph of text, but is that better as a list? Could you produce that as a list and maybe do it as an infographic and put it on that page? I know infographics were like 5 years ago, but infographics can still work. And finally, remix. So if something's working in industry X, can it be used in your industry? Take that content from, it doesn't even have to be in the same niche, it could just be completely separate, but it works. And just use it. If it works there, and you just remix it. You use the thing of what rap artists do. They just take great music from across the decades and just put their own slight spin on it and release it again. He said just do the same with content. Lisa was next, and I had to ask Chris, who was sat next to me, where she worked for. It turns out she works for the US Dictionary, and she was on stage talking about how obviously everyone knows them, but nobody really knew them. No one knew the brand, no one knew about them. It wasn't until they started creating a personality for the brand on Twitter, started sharing meaningful information and like what's trending and answering people's questions about content, etc. They really took off. And then once they started it, all the stuff what they were doing online got picked up by press and showed like their growth in links and how, because people now follow them and journalists now follow them, they're looking for their input on stuff, their SEO's just exploded. I actually give an example, like they were live tweeting during the president's debate about when they would say more uncommon words and what they meant. So yeah, so as well as taking off their social, taking off their followers, their engagement, it actually had a massive impact on their SEO. Up next was Dominic. So he works for Distilled. He's been responsible for their new platform, the A/B testing platform. And how I can summarise what he said was, test everything. Everything needs testing. Just because it works on a website in one niche, it might not work on another website. So everything needs testing multiple times if you want it to work on your site. And just because someone's failed on a different niche doesn't mean it won't work on your website. So everything needs testing. But to do testing, you need about 1,000 sessions a day to make it meaningful data. You can use their platform, Distilled ODM, or you can, if you've got developer access, use Tag Manager or something similar. But yeah, brilliant talk. Gives some great examples of how he thought things would work because he'd done it before, and how they haven't, and how things they thought wouldn't work did work. It was really great examples. But yeah, his main thing is just test everything. And just because somebody says it works, don't believe them. Test it on your own site. Up next was Vince. Vince was the first of day 2's community speakers. So like they had 2 on the first day, they had 2 on the second day. And he was talking about how to create content in boring niches, boring industries. And we've all been there, we've all had clients who done work in not so sexy niches. Car insurance, funeral homes, that kind of stuff. The things that you struggle to really write about or really get involved in. But he gives some great examples, like to just simplify complex topics and make it easy for people to understand. Like A to Z guide of what the words mean for the general public. Show them a problem that they didn't know they had. So, can you solve a problem that they wasn't aware of by using this? And just show them your expertise. Write a lot, or do videos, or talk, or just show to them that you actually know what you're talking about. Come across as the expert, and that'll definitely help. Up next was Nancy, and she was talking about advertising on Amazon, and it wasn't very relevant to me. It's not something I've ever done, and I don't really think I'll ever do it. But like the stuff you can do on Amazon, like the amount of opportunities and the amount of money that Amazon actually makes from this is unreal. But some of the key stats she said was 70% of people don't go past the first page, like this day on page 1. 35% don't actually go past the first 3 listings, and more importantly, the first 3 listings potentially are ads. And 90% of Amazon shoppers didn't notice the ads. And I will be honest here, I can't tell the difference between an ad and an organic listing in Amazon. It's quite hard. But yeah, the stat that we found out about Amazon was incredible amount of, it's into the billions how much money they make from this ads. Like, it's, yeah. But yeah, like I said, not something I'd probably find I'd ever use, but at the same time it's an incredible, fascinating talk. So yeah, it just blew my mind about how Amazon actually works. Up next, Will was back on stage this time, but this time it wasn't a sales pitch. It was talking about SEO and CRM and why what's good for users isn't always good for Google. He said UX is a ranking factor in the sense that it's not a direct ranking factor, or not always a direct, but in the general broader sense, it is a ranking factor. He said he showed an example of where, and I don't want to name the person, but somebody slagged off Rand and called him out for some of the testing that he's done. But that's kind of wrong, because that harms the industry. That would potentially stop a new person coming into the industry and doing tests thinking that you're going to be slagged off online. Whether you agree with Rand's tests or not, and whether you see the point of them, that's one thing. That's But the fact he's actually willing to do tests and publicly share the information, that should be applauded more than anything. And I kind of agree with him here. Like, if you were going to start slagging off people for doing tests, then as an industry, we're going to go backwards. But that was just a little side point. The key point of this talk was CRO and SEO needs to work together. So he showed some examples of where they'd done some CRO modelling of, done some CRO tests of what was going to improve conversion rate, and I think it was a 12% improvement in conversion rate. But it had a 25% drop in organic rankings. It's a 25% drop in organic traffic. So yes, you got a conversion rate increase, but you lost the traffic, so it ended up actually being worse. I think he did a blog article on Moz about this, well worth reading. But yeah, so they need to work together, and some SEO tests or changes we make impact CRO. So like just because it's good for SEO, again, if it impacts conversion rate, at the end of the day, a business is there, especially an e-commerce business, is there to generate money. And now, if you might get more traffic, but if that traffic converts at a lot lower percentage, what's the point? Like, so you need to find the happy medium ground of ideally both improving SEO and conversion rate, or at least improving one of them and not impacting the other. So yeah, SEO and CRO teams need to work more closely together. Then Alexis come up next, talking question is the name, talking about different questions, how they've evolved over time. But she kind of said machines are obviously much quicker than us at retrieving the info, and they're going to get even faster in the future. Quite an interesting talk here. Then the last two speakers today, first up was Nadia. She was talking about how she joined the company she joined, and how they've basically gone from not a lot of organic traffic and leads to far considerably more, all with a zero budget. She said they're not VC funded, everything they do is on a budget, but she gives some great examples about how they've strategically gone after keywords, targets, and seen the strategy improvement. She said every content piece you create should have one of three goals. It should be either to improve authority, and I'm talking in the general sense here, I'm not using Moz's domain authority, I'm just talking about, in Google's eyes, the domain authority. It should improve conversion rate. So is this piece going to drive more people to convert on your website, indirectly or directly? Or is it going to drive more traffic? Is it an SEO piece just there to rank to drive more people to your brand? If it doesn't do one of them three things, don't do it. And one article or one piece of content shouldn't try and do more than one specifically for each one. And before I listened to her, I would always try to do maybe two of them things or three of them things in an article. But she kind of makes sense. Like, keep it focused, keep it simple, have your goal in mind, and hit your goal. Trying to hit two of them might dilute and you might miss both. So keep it simple. Finally, Will was up on stage, and he didn't even make any excuses for this. He basically gave the same talk he's given for the last 2, 3, maybe even 4 years about Microsoft BI and why you should be using it. And he asked people who've seen talk before who's actually done it. There's only about 8 people in the room, and it does look incredible. I'll be honest. Microsoft Power BI, I would love to use it, but the issue is in the name Microsoft. I'm a Mac user, so for me to be able to do this, I'd need to either get a Windows virtual machine or a Windows machine set up to be able to use it. Yes, it looks great, but I think in the short term I'll get more benefit out of setting Jupyter up, and maybe once Jupyter's set up and it's maybe more efficient and give me more free time, I'll probably learn Microsoft BI. I do want to try it. Some of the insights we were talking about does look great, but I don't have the time or the resources. And then finally, another night of networking. This time was in a secluded area of the hotel complex. Nice outdoor bar, outdoor seating, grassed area. Again, a few drinks, a bit of networking. Great way to finish the conference. So I hope you do find that useful. Like I said, I really did enjoy this conference. SearchLove always is a great conference. It's my first time in San Diego. Beautiful city. I've been to London once several times. Now I've just got Boston to visit and tick off. But really recommend you considering this conference for 2020.